How do you intro a video again? Anyway, folder structure. That's the topic for today. And the question comes up quite often, should I put my classes into the same file? Should I put it into folder X or Y? Or how should I structure my folders? And whenever people ask me that question, I get slightly annoyed, and I annoy them because I always ask them questions back instead of a quick and simple answer. There's a lot of best practices of what to do with folders. Um, People separate them by type. If you look at Java or C Sharp quite often, sometimes you have a lot of files and classes and files. Of course, you have files and files. A lot of classes and types inside the same file. You see that quite often in Kotlin, for example. But in other languages like Java, you just don't have that at all because the language basically forbids it. And it seems like no one can agree on what the best thing is, and everyone has an opinion on what it is. So it must be kind of true that none of them are actually the best at what they're proposing, because otherwise everyone would kind of agree. Um, and there's also no real metrics or evidence to demonstrate which one's better. So why does it annoy me a bit? Well, I think people are putting too much emphasis on it. I don't think it matters nearly as much as people pretend to, especially not with modern tooling. Like you can open up your file-based search or context search, global search, grab whatever in whatever IDE you want, and you're going to find files that you're interested in. And the first question that I ask people when they ask me pretty much any question is, what are you trying to do? And that's the same thing with folder structure. What is it that you and or your team is trying to achieve with your folder structure? If your goal is to find everything of a type, well, then you should group them by type. Um, I personally find that often not very interesting because I find global searches much easier for that. Usually I want to manipulate objects and types that are related to each other. So let's propose that we're doing a web application of some sort. And I'm going to modify an endpoint that should take an extra parameter. So the thing I'm interested in is the data transfer object, the endpoint itself, and the code that it gets handed to. So it would be convenient if they were all close together in the code. So that's how I structure my code. Quite often is on the outer layers, I structure it by use case and domain. And on the inner layers, I find myself often grouping them more by domain and then kind of type once it's narrowed down enough so that I know that everything here is related. It's difficult to say if, for example, if we're defining a graph, is a node or an edge closer related to the graph, or are they equally far apart? What about annotations on things? Where do the search algorithms go? So I tend to just create a folder for the data structures themselves. That's where the node goes, the edge goes, etc. And then a folder for algorithms of various types, maybe subfolders for searches, etc. But I'm not sorting them by type as an interface versus abstract class versus concrete class, if the language I'm using even has those concepts, because I find that to be useless to me. It might be useful to you. So why do people quite often do this? Well, I think it's because they're lazy. Maybe the wrong way. Because it's easy, especially it's easy to teach a beginner, well, put all your interfaces into a folder called interfaces, or all your enums into a folder called enums. A work project I'm currently working on does that, and I absolutely hate it because I can't find anything that I'm actually looking for. I have a like folder with 50 enums in it, and I have no idea what I'm actually looking for. Yeah. Anyway, not going to talk about work too much. So basically, my suggestion to you is to sit down by yourself or with your team, depending on what it is, and talk with each other how you actually work on code and how you explore code. And that should determine how you structure your folder structure. And that's it from me. And now I'm gonna learn how to edit a video again.